So is today's unexpected compromise a case study in the art of the deal from President Trump? All right, let's quickly bring in today's specialists. He's a former governor of Arkansas. Mike Huckabee is here. And she's a senior director of research and consumer insight for Bustle.com. Jessica Tarlov is here. Governor Huckabee, I saw you laughing while Chuck Schumer was talking, so I thought that you might want to jump in.
Well, I was wondering if Chuck Schumer is in the orthopedic ward, because I think he broke his arm patting himself on the back for this extraordinary moment. It's just funny to watch Chuck Schumer sit there and talk about what a bipartisan guy he is, and he has been one of the biggest stumbling blocks to getting anything done. But today was a smart move on the part of the president. This is something that was going to inevitably happen. The debt ceiling was going to increase. The Republicans don't have enough guts to not do it. The Democrats want to do it. Trump doesn't want to be bogged down with that battle while we've got 2 hurricanes going on and really more important things like true tax reform, getting Obamacare repealed and replaced, and all the other things that should be on the agenda. So this was good politics. It gives Trump an opportunity to say, I'm not the guy that just blocks everything. And he also knows this, Kat. He's dealing with a bunch of incompetent Republicans who were so completely impotent that a year's supply of political Viagra would not make them capable of getting something done.
We're in rare form, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Huckabee in the house.
I'm sick of the Republicans in Congress. They are utterly worthless in getting something done. They have the House, they've got the Senate, and they got a president that'll sign the bills. They have the numbers to get something done, and they can't even get together on changing the doggone tax code. I'm done with them.
Do you think this was a good thing, David?
Yeah, because I think, and by the way, for everything I'm about to say, I'll just add on to see the former speaker or on the show. Look, it's the art of the deal. Here's what we have. They were going to do this no matter what. Governor Huckabee's right. They were going to have this debt ceiling raise. We were going to see the midnight vote. We're going to see all of this play out. Now that's taken off the table. Now they can focus on tax reform, and the president's out on this. Whether it's the 3 Easy Pieces initiative, that just requires a 51-vote majority. That gives us 3 pieces that reforms taxes for Americans. Whether it's other issues, but when it comes to health care, they're not prepared. And now he has political capital because he has something else. He has Chuck Schumer patting himself on the back repeatedly. The most partisan hack, there's no other way to say it, in the Senate on the Democrat side is Chuck Schumer, the new Harry Reid. So Trump's laid this out, and I think we're seeing the beginning of a negotiation.
Do you think, Jessica, though, that this will actually matter when it comes to Democrats? Will they be any more likely to compromise with President Trump because of this?
Absolutely not. Yeah. It's just another win. I mean, the Democrats, for being in the minority, completely right, House, Senate, no presidency, have gotten an incredible amount done, or at least stopped an incredible amount with health care, the tax reform push that he has going. I think it's smart to be out there with Heidi Heitkamp, and that's something she needs to do, and 9 other Democrats in red states that Trump took also need to be talking to him more and at least appearing to be willing to compromise. But the Democrats have completely and utterly gamed the Republicans time and time again, and that's the frustration you see with Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan. They have the numbers. They can't get it done. Tax reform, I think, more likely numbers-wise, because they all want a tax cut for individuals in corporate rate. But then you have President Trump out there talking about a 15% rate when Paul Ryan says actually 25% is what's reasonable there. And I think that you are also continuing to see the fact that Donald Trump has no interest in being part of any party. He is a party of one, and his base, that 30 to 35%, they don't have an allegiance either. They just go with Trump. And I don't know what that means for the Republicans in 2018 and 2020.
Well, what is the Republican?
Ebony, what's your take? I want to get Ebony in here.
Well, I'll piggyback off what the governor just said. I think your frustration speaks to that of many of my Republican friends, Governor. What is the GOP agenda? What is it exactly that Paul Ryan wants? What is it exactly that Mitch McConnell wants? And what are they willing to do? What type of political capital are they willing to spend to make it happen? And I think it's very, very unclear to all people looking. In terms of what the president did today, Kat, I think, look, pick your battles has never had more meaning. This was not a smart battle to pick. This was going to get done anyway, as everyone has already articulated. I do think Jessica's right. I don't think it makes the Democrats more likely to compromise. But optically, politically, to the outsiders looking in, I think it gives him a little bit more goodwill, him being the president, to say, you know what, he did give them something. He put something on the table. He deserves to get something back. And tax reform, who doesn't want it, who doesn't need it? This is a single issue that my mother, a lifetime Democrat, Democrat, went to that booth and voted for President Trump around. She is one of those Americans that wants that relief, particularly around the individual and small business tax rates.
Yeah, politically speaking, he could say, well, I compromise with you guys and you won't compromise with me, but I'm not sure it'll go beyond that.
It makes no difference when you have a congressional approval rating at, 9 to 13%, depending what pollster you're looking at. And nothing's going to make them seem like decent human beings, to the governor's initial point there. And I don't use the word hack, but certainly we use the word partisan when we're talking about any of the leadership, and frankly, most of the foot soldiers. I mean, people line up and they vote with their party, and that's getting to be an incredibly complicated approach when we have 40% of Americans identifying as independent. You know, they, as Ebony well knows, I mean, you usually lean one way or the other because you came from one of the parties. But Americans don't speak in just language of Democrats and Republicans anymore. And I don't know where you go from there with parties that only talk that way.
I don't think they're speaking the language of their parties. I think that's the problem. They're not speaking the language of their parties. They're speaking the language of their D.C. donors.
Yeah.
This is the problem with
the representatives themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not answering to the people.
No.
If they were answering to the people, we would have repealed and replaced Obamacare. We would have already had tax reform. We would have had multiple things that would have already happened. Why have we had it? Because they don't want to offend their handlers, the people who handled the money into their campaign coffers, and that's what's killing these people.
But here's the point, and by the way, I'll add to this. You know where we really need a border wall? Between K Street and every building where there's a congressman. Yeah. Look, the Democrats shouldn't do a victory lap on this either, because we know what will happen next. What we have are the optics of it. Trump has the opportunity to turn the optics, because the one thing about Donald Trump, and I love this about him, no matter what you say about him, he's not the weenie, squishy fish Republicans who will run for corner and say, no, I'm not, and scream about it. He stands up, looks you right in the eye, looks the nation right in the eye, and Chuck Schumer may do his pat on the back routine, but he better get his arm fixed, because he's not going to be doing it for much longer.
Let me make this point about these representatives. It's about who they're afraid of. And you're exactly right. They're not afraid of their constituents voting them out of office. They're afraid of those donors' checkbooks, or ink pens rather, drying up and shriveling up, and them not being able to run for re-election. And that's the problem. I think the minute that the constituents have the power again, we'll see a different Washington.
Yeah, I also think that it needs to be said, because no one says it, I am concerned about the national debt. And I don't think that congressional GOP really is. I don't think they care. I think that I don't even really know what a Republican is anymore. It's not seeming to be a very fiscally conservative type thing, if this is just no big deal.
Certainly not small government.
Certainly not small government.
Well,
at some point, we'll need to balance the budget.
Really, Donald Trump wants an infrastructure bill the same size as the Democrats
Jessica, you're simplifying it, and it's nice to do as a Democrat. But when you look at some of the structural things that are being done in D.C., reducing the size of the EPA, the 500 people sanctioned or fired at the VA, the fact that the 700 people in the Pentagon that were transitioned from under Obama from political appointments to jobs positions that are now being considered how to get rid of them. Trump is also innovating. He's looking for ways to bring government into more efficiency. You fix the tax code, you simplify the tax code.
So he's just not filling positions because he's trying to keep
No, Jessica, it's not that simple. Look, it's easy talking points, but unfortunately,
I'm not using a talking point, David.
I spend a lot of time every week actually looking into policy, not looking into the quick points. And the fact is that you've got to take time to do this. And over time, I think you will really see a reduction in the government size and its scope, and you will see more efficiency based on what's being done by the different bureaus and departments.
Right now, we're still spending too much and more on wars and all this stuff that we shouldn't be getting involved in.